It's Aaron and Melissa here for True Stream Media. Is grid jihad going to be the big advertised ISIS attack? I don't know, but the officials in national security and other parts of the media are really flaunting the idea that just about anyone, especially ISIS, could just take down the grid.
It's pretty ridiculous. The normal Al-Qaeda scaremongering that we're used to seeing at this time of year, coming up on another 9/11 anniversary, is absent. And what we're seeing instead is ISIS scaremongering. ISIS is going to come to the mall and shoot everyone. ISIS is going to blow people up with car bombs. Now, the big thing that's been making the rounds this last week that I've noticed over and over again is this new idea that they're going to attack the grid and knock us all into darkness and kill 90% of Americans. And it's everywhere. Experts warn of ISIS attack on U.S. power grid. Dr. Peter Pry, former CIA officer and head of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security, says the grid faces an imminent attack by ISIS. So not a possible or even probable attack, an imminent attack that will happen at any moment. And they don't even have to come into the United States. They're just going to hire Mexican gangs to do it, who have already attacked grids in Mexico. It went from that to new ISIS threat, America's electric grid, blackout could kill 9 out of 10. And they're saying inadequate grid security, a porous U.S.-Mexico border, and fragile transmission systems make the electric grid a target for ISIS. Again, they're quoting Pry. But it wasn't just Pry. There was a whole press conference last week with top government officials warning about this. And then he's saying, by one estimate, should the power go out and stay out for over a year, 9 out of 10 Americans would likely perish. That's coming from Frank Gaffney, who
is a total neocon who is an original signatory on Project for a New American Century. He definitely profits from creating new crises, scripting new enemies, and creating new problems. I mean, that's just the business he's in.
He's apparently dubbed the potential crisis grid jihad. So that's where that phrase is coming from. And it's everywhere. Gaffney's talking about the domino effect, how it's going to reach all corners of the country, grid jihad. And they keep mentioning that if they just attack 9 substations out of the 55,000 transmission substations in this country, if they just attack 9 of them, it will take down the whole entire grid. So really good planning on the part of the architects of that. But anyway, so grid jihad is making the rounds. And I thought this article was kind of interesting only because this comment at the bottom where the guy says, we put $40 billion a year into Homeland Security, and after 9/11, the grid protection should have been a priority, but instead, most of the efforts went into hiding the vulnerability. Well, they're not hiding it anymore because, like I said, now they're just straight up talking about how if 9 of these substations get attacked, it'll be coast-to-coast blackouts for 18 months.
And this is a possible disaster, but they're definitely scaremongering about it. Now here we are one day out of 9/11. They've been doing this weeks ahead. I mean, come on. Why they're pretty much telling them how they could take down America and inviting them in and like, make sure you don't push this red button. It would just collapse everything.
Well, it is like that because the more you read these stories about the imminent threat, the fact that they use the word imminent at all, but it goes on and it specifically says there are open source computer models where you can figure out which of the 9 critical transformer substations where they are, if attacked, would take down the whole national power grid. So something like that could be arranged. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen next week. So they're straight up saying there are open source computer models to tell you the exact weakness of our whole entire grid that would plunge America into darkness for a year and a half. And then, if you continue on in these articles, the guy also said all they have to do is contact the Knights Templar, which is not the religious secret society of old, but the new Mexican gang. Yeah. All you have to do is contact Knights Templar and wire them $10 million. I mean, they'll do anything for money. Hey, go across that open U.S. border and take out the electric grid in Arizona or New Mexico or Minnesota or New York or the entire nation. If the terror groups across the south border don't bite that huge bait, then ISIS can tap the Muslim terror cells very much already within the country. It's like they've laid it all out. The only thing they didn't do here was hand these people blueprints of the actual substations and fake security badges. That's the only thing. Yeah. Because everything else has been laid out. Go ahead and pay the $10 million, get those open source models, attack the 9 substations. That's all you got to do. You don't even have to come into the country. Just get Knights Templar to do it. And the saddest part about all this security theater that we have going on with Homeland Security and the $40 billion a year we spend on that is that back on August 29th, a warning came out that they knew ISIS was operating out of Juarez, south of El Paso. So they know they're right there. They know ISIS is right there, supposedly, and that all agents across Homeland Security, the DOJ, have all been put on high alert because they know they're there and they're talking about setting off car bombs. And so that was at the end of August. Now you have this where the media and these guys are straight out laying out the plan.
And I think the creepiest part is the government's been running major drills, like the Grid X2 drill they ran last fall. And Janet Napolitano, before she left Department of Homeland Security, who spent most of her time blaming the potential for the prototypical white conservative Tea Partier to become a domestic extremist, outlined almost this exact scenario, saying it wouldn't take much, just a small terrorist group, they could take down the whole grid, and outlined almost the same scenario before ISIS even existed as a public group, before that name had been adopted, when we were still funding the rebels in Syria and before that Libya. They were pretty much anticipating the grid going down. Why haven't they taken steps to protect that grid? Seems to me like somebody's pretty interested in a major disaster, leveling this country and allowing a power sweep to come in the vacuum.
I mean, we know that when they promote and basically advertise an attack the way that this is being advertised, that typically it's not what happens. But at the same time, they are so going overboard with this. It is too much. It's too much.
Yeah.